And we are back after a hiatus on making NBA videos.
With that being said, we wanted to give our inputs on some teams that we think will do good this year. Essentially an early season analysis or prediction on some of the best teams.
We'll be talking about the roster they'll be going in the year with, what their strengths and weaknesses are, and some predictions that we have for each team. Then, mid-season, we'll follow up with things we got right and how it's looking at that time.
With that being said, starting today, we'll be dissecting the hottest team in the NBA, the Miami Heat.
Y'all ready?
Let's get started.
Man, this team is looking super interesting. And I use the word interesting because it looks like an experiment with so many ways they could win.
Yeah, the roster is super deep this year and has so many bucket getters, but also big defensive stars and veterans. So, let's list some important players.
Let's start with the stars in Jimmy Butler and Bam Adebayo, as well as recovering star Victor Oladipo.
They also have some people coming back, shooters like Tyler Hero, Duncan Robinson, Gabe Vincent, and Casey Okpala.
But the recruitment team and Pat Riley worked their usual magic and got some big names to join this year's squad. Starting with the infamous trade of Goran Dragic and getting the Toronto legend in Kyle Lowry, as well as some trained veterans in Markieff Morris, PJ Tucker, and Dwayne Dedmon.
We really think Pat Riley this offseason did some research and focused on getting defensive players to incorporate into the roster, allowing Bam and Jimmy to focus more on their scoring, as these new guys can allow them to take a step back on the defensive side.
Which brings us to their strengths and weaknesses. Last year, they were very just decent for a team that just went to the NBA Finals. They were below average on offense and were one of the slowest team pace-wise.
However, their defense was good enough to be a top 10 defensive team and can only improve this year.
Their starting lineup would look like this: Lowry, Butler, Bam, PJ Tucker, and the last spot could go to Oladipo, Robinson, or Hero. Which the first four is already a great defensive team, and then you add one shooter, which is pretty intimidating.
Lowry, Butler, and Bam are debatably top 3 defensive players in their respective positions, and then you add PJ Tucker, with another defensive stud that can guard 1 through 5, and you have a great selection.
Then you can choose between Hero or Robinson for more scoring, or add Oladipo, who mind you was a defensive star in Indiana, as well as a bucket getter before his injury.
We recommend Hero or Duncan just for scoring, and Oladipo could really flourish as much as needed 6-man off the bench.
As you can see, we're really praising this Miami Heat roster because on paper it looks like a top 3 defensive team. Lowry getting charges and pestering any guard, Bam being able to block shots and anchor the paint, and Butler and Tucker switching into any forwards or guards. It's a great team again on paper.
Exactly, because on paper it looks good, but the 2 biggest weaknesses are going to be chemistry. This team is basically a brand new team with players who are getting older, meaning less time will be played together.
So chemistry as to any team will be an issue, but another big weakness is scoring. As we said earlier, they don't score the ball as well as you think they would. And Goran Dragic, one of the best contributors on offense, is now gone. So you would need their players to really step it up on offense this year.
Which is a perfect transition to our next part, which is predictions. Starting with individual predictions, first of all, we think Lowry will actually go down in his stats, but we do expect big improvements for Jimmy and Bam.
But the one you really want to focus on is their 3 shooting guards in Oladipo, Robinson, and Hero. Some bold predictions we have are Hero will start the majority of the year and will actually play better, as Oladipo will come off the bench and will be a runner-up to a 6-man award.
But our biggest prediction is that Duncan Robinson will not get shots that he once got, as those shots are now given to Oladipo off the bench, and Hero and Lowry as the new guards. Thus, we could see him being traded for pieces the Miami Heat will need for the playoffs, and for sure other teams will love to have a shooter like Robinson on their team.
Pat, you already said the magical P word, playoffs. So where do we think they'll go seed-wise? Honestly, right now they're the 3rd best team in the East behind the Nets and Bucks, as the Celtics and 76ers are having internal issues.
However, we can also see them being a 4th or 5th seed due to some of the issues we talk about, like offensive presence and chemistry issues. But any team that plays them in the playoffs will have a very hard time.
And that's the main thing. Any team, high or low seed, that plays them will definitely go 6 to 7 games, just because they are so good defensively, and in general the Miami organization is an entity that does not give up, and their sweep last year is definitely going to rile them up this year.
This team is kind of like a more balanced super team with a great supporting cast.
This team has the potential to win a chip. Maybe, maybe not, but they're definitely going to be up there with the best of them this year.
Anyways, that is our early season analysis of the newly constructed Miami Heat. They're definitely a team to watch out for this year. Let us know if you agree or not.
Or comment down below some other teams you want us to analyze. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe as we are near 500 subs. But that is it, everyone. That's it. We'll see you guys later and easy.